If you're a skater, by the end of this video, you're going to be wondering why you just watched a crash course on city development and economics. If you're here for city development, I hope you leave with a new respect for skateboarders. Right now, I'm sitting inside the Peter Matthews Memorial Skate Garden in St. Louis, Missouri. But we need to rewind to 2009, telling the story as told by JP Krause. JP had just gotten back from a trip to Burnside. Why does it always seem to come back to Burnside? The legendary DIY spot under a bridge in Portland, Oregon. And he came home wondering, why can't we have one of those? Because at the time, the city of St. Louis in 2009 didn't have a single designated skate park. The city had been hollowed out by white flight, suburbanization, and decades of urban renewal demolition. Blocks upon blocks of abandoned buildings that were worth more in pieces than whole. People literally burning them down and tearing them apart to sell the bricks. In a place like that, finding room for a skate park seems like the least of the city's worries. So when JP heard rumors of kids pouring concrete under the Kings Highway viaduct, he had to go check it out. What he found was rough ramps, patched together ledges, and a group of skateboarders trying to make something out of nothing. He joined in, and for the next 4 years, St. Louis got its own version of Burnside. Skate mags covered it, the community rallied around it, and the city even quietly tolerated it. Then in 2014 came the bad news. The Kings Highway viaduct, over 100 years old, was structurally unsound and was slated to be torn down, which meant the skate park had to go too. But this time we have to give credit to St. Louis, who didn't just bulldoze it and move on. They reached out to the skaters for collaboration. This is when KHVT, the Kings Highway Vigilante Transition, was born, a nonprofit formed to build a legitimate successor to the DIY skate park. The city offered them a remediated piece of brownfield land off Morgan Ford Road. A brownfield is land that has been polluted by past industrial use, an old gas station, warehouse, or factory. And remediation is a process of cleaning it up so it's safe to use again. Sometimes cities dig up and remove the contaminated soil, and sometimes they just cap it, cover it in such a way so that no one's exposed to the contamination. Now that type of land is tough to redevelop, but is full of opportunity, especially in Rust Belt cities. It's land already connected to streets and utilities. If you can make it safe, perhaps you can bring it back to life. Brownfields also tie into a bigger economic concept known as externalities. That's when someone's profit becomes someone else's problem. Like if a company has to dump waste and the city has to clean it up decades later, it means that part of their profit was paid for by other people. Redeveloping a brownfield is returning the leftovers of those externalities into usable public space. Let's come back to St. Louis. The city leased the site to KHVT and the skaters did the rest. They raised the money, poured the concrete, landscaped, and dedicated the park to Peter Mathew, a local skater who died in a car crash. And with help from the Tony Hawk Foundation, the Peter Matthews Memorial Skate Garden opened in 2015, showing that the best urban design often comes from the input of the people who live there, especially in places like St. Louis, a city reshaped by policies that tore neighborhoods apart. It matters when residents reclaim the void and make something beautiful out of the ruins. A brownfield became a park, and a demolished bridge became a story of cooperation. A group of skateboarders showed what cities can do when they let creativity rather than bureaucracy lead the way. Sometimes change can't come from the top down.